Welcome to my channel Old Valuable Chiller. Today we are deep dive into the fascinating world of the 1996 United States 5-cent coin, also known as the Jefferson nickel. If you're a coin collector, a history enthusiast, or just curious about the value and features of this vintage coin, then you're in the right place. Stay with us for the next 20 minutes as we explore every detail, every fact, and every collector insight you need to know about the 1996 US 5-cent coin. The 1996 5-cent coin from the United States features a timeless design that has remained mostly unchanged for decades. This coin is part of the Jefferson nickel series, which began in 1938 and features the bust of Thomas Jefferson, the third president of the United States, on the obverse or front of the coin. Jefferson's image on the 1996 5-cent coin is a left-facing portrait designed by Felix Schlag, who originally created the design in the late 1930s. The obverse of the 1996 US 5-cent coin shows the word liberty in Jefferson's own handwriting, the year 1996 just to the right of his portrait, and the mint mark just below the year. Mint marks on the 1996 Jefferson nickel include P for Philadelphia, D for Denver, and very rarely S for the San Francisco Mint, but the S Mint 1996 nickels were only made as proof coins for collectors, not for circulation. Let's take a closer look at the specifications of the 1996 5-cent coin. It is composed of a cupro-nickel blend, that is, 75% copper and 25% nickel, giving the coin its characteristic silver-gray appearance. The coin weighs 5 grams, has a diameter of 21.21 millimeters, and a smooth edge without reading. It's a sturdy, reliable coin that was built to withstand heavy use in everyday American commerce. Now, what makes the 1996 US 5-cent coin particularly interesting to coin collectors and numismatists? One of the first things to look at is the mintage. In 1996, the US Mint struck hundreds of millions of nickels. Specifically, over 825 million nickels were minted at the Philadelphia Mint, and over 705 million at the Denver Mint. That makes this coin fairly common in circulation, but condition and rarity can still affect value. Let's talk about value. The average 1996 Jefferson nickel in circulated condition is still worth face value, 5 cents. However, if you happen to have a 1996 nickel in mint state, especially those graded MS65 or higher by a reputable coin grading service, it could be worth significantly more. High-grade examples can fetch between $1 to $10, sometimes even more if there's exceptional luster, strike quality, or eye appeal. Proof versions from San Francisco, especially those in PR69 or PR70 deep cameo condition, are of greater interest to collectors and may sell for a few dollars each, depending on market demand. Another thing to look out for when evaluating a 1996 5-cent coin is errors or varieties. While the 1996 Jefferson nickel does not have any widely known or intentional varieties, errors do exist and can add a premium to the coin's value. Examples include off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, clipped planchets, and rotated dies. A 1996 nickel with a dramatic error could be worth anywhere from a few dollars to several $100s depending on the type and severity of the error. When handling any collectible coin, including the 1996 US 5-cent piece, proper storage and care are crucial. To preserve the condition and avoid scratches or wear, it's best to use non-PVC coin flips, airtight capsules, or coin albums. Oils from your fingers can cause toning or damage over time, so using cotton gloves when examining high-grade coins is also recommended. Now, let's discuss the design significance. The reverse of the 1996 Jefferson nickel shows Jefferson's Virginia home, Monticello. This design has appeared on the reverse of the 5-cent coin since 1938 and was also designed by Felix Schlag. The word Monticello appears below the dome of the building, and beneath that is the denomination, 5 cents. Across the top is the phrase E pluribus unum, and at the bottom, you'll find United States of America. While the design was slightly modernized in later years, the 1996 version remains true to the original. For many collectors, this era represents the last phase before the 2004 to 2005 Westward Journey Nickel Series redesigns, which briefly altered both the obverse and reverse designs. That makes coins from the late 1990s, including the 1996 5-cent piece, particularly nostalgic. Collectors often look for full steps on the Monticello building. This refers to the staircase visible at the base of the design. Coins with full steps detail are rarer and graded higher, making them more desirable to collectors. To qualify as a full steps nickel, the lines of the stairs must be clearly defined and uninterrupted. 1996 nickels with full steps are particularly sought after in mint state grades. As we approach the midpoint of this exploration, let's reflect on how the 1996 5-cent coin fits into American coinage history. This year was a period of stability in U.S. coin design, and the Jefferson nickel continued its legacy of circulating widely in American commerce. For those who grew up in the 1990s, this coin brings back memories of vending machines, lunch money, and spare change in the pocket. Now, many of you might wonder, is the 1996 US 5-cent coin rare? The short answer is no, not in circulated condition. But in high grades, or with unique error varieties, it absolutely becomes a collector's item. The challenge lies in finding one in pristine condition or discovering a unique variety no one has seen before. If you're thinking about collecting Jefferson nickels, the 1996 edition is a great starting point. It's affordable, widely available, and represents a period of consistency in American coin production. It also serves as a solid anchor if you're looking to build a full date or mint mark collection from 1938 to the early 2000s. Whether you're investing in coins or simply fascinated by American history, the 1996 5-cent coin from the United States offers both educational and collectible value. Take the time to examine your change, look for those proof coins, and watch out for high-grade examples with crisp details and full steps on Monticello. That little nickel in your drawer could be worth more than you think. As we wrap up, remember that coin values can fluctuate based on condition, demand, and the overall market for collectibles. Always consult updated coin price guides or a trusted numismatic expert if you're considering selling or grading your coins. And if you're new to the hobby, the 1996 5-cent coin is a perfect piece to begin your journey into US coin collecting. Next up in this detailed exploration of the 1964 United States 1-cent coin, also known as the 1964 Lincoln penny. If you're a coin collector, a history enthusiast, or just curious about the value, significance, and interesting facts surrounding this particular coin, you're in the right place. In this video, we'll cover everything you need to know about the 1964 1-cent coin from the United States, including its composition, design features, minting numbers, errors to watch for, and whether it's worth anything beyond 1 cent today. Let's begin with the background. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It was the first regular-issue American coin to feature a real person's portrait. The obverse, or front side, of the coin features a right-facing bust of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has remained mostly unchanged for decades, and the 1964 version continues that iconic image. Now, turning to the details of the 1964 Lincoln penny itself. This coin was struck in two primary mints, the Philadelphia mint, which does not carry a mint mark, and the Denver mint, which bears the small D mint mark just below the date. So you may come across two versions of this coin, the 1964 with no mint mark, and the 1964D. As for composition, the 1964 penny was made primarily of 95% copper and 5% zinc, part of the traditional bronze alloy used in cents from 1864 until 1982, with only minor interruptions. Because of its high copper content, the coin has a distinctive reddish-brown color when uncirculated, though many have darkened or toned over time due to circulation and oxidation. In terms of physical specifications, the coin weighs 3.11 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. Its plain edge, meaning it has no reading, helps distinguish it from some other coin types at a glance. Let's now dive into mintage numbers. The year 1964 saw an incredibly high production of Lincoln cents. Over 6.4 billion were struck in Philadelphia and more than 3.8 billion were minted in Denver. That's over 10 billion coins in total. This huge mintage was partly due to a coin shortage in the early 1960s, prompting the US Mint to produce cents in very large quantities. Because of this high production, most 1964 Lincoln cents are extremely common and are still found in circulation today. However, even though they are common, some 1964 pennies can be more valuable depending on condition, mint mark, and potential errors. So what should you look for if you want to find a more valuable version? One of the key factors is condition. Coins that have never been circulated and retain their original mint luster are graded as mint state, often marked as MS on grading scales. A 1964 Lincoln cent in mint state 65 or higher can be worth anywhere from a few dollars to over $20 or more, depending on the eye appeal and strike quality. Red versions, coins that retain their bright copper red color, are worth even more than brown or red-brown specimens. Now let's talk about errors and varieties, a major area of interest for collectors. Error coins can be much more valuable due to their rarity. Some notable errors for 1964 Lincoln cents include double die obverse. In some cases, the date or lettering on the front of the coin appears doubled due to a misalignment during the striking process. These are rare, but if you find one, it can be worth a significant amount, especially in higher grades. Off-center strikes. These coins are not struck correctly within the collar, leading to part of the design being missing or skewed. Depending on how far off-center the coin is, it may bring higher collector interest. BIE errors. A die break between the letters B and E in Liberty can create what looks like an I, making the word appear as Liberty. These are relatively minor die breaks, but they are collected by specialists. Die cracks and cuds. These happen when a part of the die breaks or chips off, leading to raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. While most are not highly valuable, they do make the coin more interesting and collectible. When it comes to values, let's break it down. Most circulated 1964 pennies are still only worth face value, or maybe 1 to 2 cents for their copper content. But uncirculated red examples from either the Philadelphia or Denver Mint can fetch a few dollars, particularly if they are graded and slabbed by professional services like PCGS or NGC. A gem uncirculated 1964 penny, graded MS67 red, has sold in the past for over $100. That's rare, but it does happen, especially at auction. So if you believe you have a high-grade 1964 penny, it may be worth getting it professionally evaluated. As for collecting advice, 1964 is an accessible and affordable starting point for new collectors. Because of the huge mintage, you can build a small collection of both mint mark varieties, compare color variations, and study wear patterns without spending a lot of money. It's also a great educational tool to learn more about coin grading, preservation, and US mint history. If you're storing your coins, be sure to keep them in a dry environment and away from PVC-containing plastic holders, which can damage the coin's surface over time. Use archival-safe coin flips, capsules, or albums. Now let's touch on the copper value. Because the 1964 penny is made mostly of copper, it has intrinsic value beyond 1 cent. The melt value fluctuates with copper market prices, and as of now, the copper content in one 1964 penny is worth about 2 to 3 cents. However, it is illegal to melt US cents and nickels for their metal content, so keep that in mind. For those wondering whether to save or spend 1964 pennies, here's a simple rule of thumb. If it's circulated and has no errors, it's fine to spend or save for copper. But if it's uncirculated, shiny red, or has any doubling, off-center strike, or unique feature, it's definitely worth setting aside. Let's not forget the historical context. In 1964, the US was going through major social and political changes. The Civil Rights Act was passed. The Vietnam War was escalating. Coin collecting was also growing in popularity, with many Americans beginning to save change in hopes of finding something rare. The Lincoln cent, as a familiar piece of pocket change, became one of the most collected coins of all time, and 1964 plays a big role in that legacy. As we wrap up, remember that coin collecting is not just about money, it's about the history, the artistry, and the stories these small metal pieces carry with them. The 1964 1-cent coin may not be rare, but it's a gateway to learning more about American coinage, minting techniques, and even economics. If you found a 1964 penny in your change recently, take a closer look. You never know, you might just spot a doubled die, an off-center strike, or a pristine red gem hiding in plain sight. Today, we're going to explore the 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin. Whether you're a coin collector, a history enthusiast, or simply curious about Canadian currency, this video will give you an in-depth look at the 1994 Canadian penny, also known as the 1994 Canada 1-cent coin. The Canadian 1-cent coin from 1994 might seem like just a small copper piece, but it carries with it the rich heritage of Canada's coinage history. Issued by the Royal Canadian Mint, the 1994 1-cent coin is part of a long legacy that began in 1858. While the penny is no longer in circulation in Canada today, coins like the 1994 Canadian 1-cent remain significant for collectors and enthusiasts alike. Let's start by talking about the physical characteristics of the 1994 Canadian penny. This coin is made primarily of copper-plated zinc, which was a transition away from the earlier bronze compositions used in previous decades. The 1994 1-cent coin from Canada weighs approximately 2.5 grams and has a diameter of 19.05 millimeters. It features a smooth, plain edge and a standard round shape. On the obverse of the 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin, you'll find the effigy of Queen Elizabeth II, designed by Dora de Pedere Hunt. This portrait had been in use since 1990 and represents Her Majesty wearing a pearl necklace and earrings. The inscription reads Elizabeth II on the left and DG Regina on the right, which stands for Dei Gratia Regina, meaning by the grace of God, Queen. Now, flipping the coin to its reverse side, we see the iconic maple leaf twig design, one of the most recognizable elements of the Canadian penny. The design, created by G. Kruger Gray, features two maple leaves on a single stem. Above the leaves is the word Canada, and below it is the denomination 1 cent and the date 1994. The designer's initials KG can be found just beneath the leaves. The 1994 1-cent coin from Canada had a very high mintage. Over 786 million of these coins were produced by the Royal Canadian Mint that year. This high mintage means the coin is quite common, and many examples can still be found in circulation or tucked away in drawers and coin jars across the country. Because of its commonality, the typical 1994 Canadian penny doesn't carry a high market value, but it holds great educational and nostalgic value. You may be wondering, if the 1994 Canada 1-cent coin is so common, why is it interesting to collectors? The answer lies in condition, errors, and variations. Collectors often look for uncirculated or mint condition coins, which have never been used and retain their original shine. These are typically obtained from original mint rolls or sets. A brilliant uncirculated 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin can command a premium, especially if it has been graded and preserved properly. In addition, some 1994 Canadian 1-cent coins feature die varieties or minting errors. These can include things like double strikes, die cracks, off-center strikes, or re-punched mint marks. Such error coins are much rarer and can be highly sought after by collectors. While the majority of the 1994 Canadian pennies are standard, it's always worth inspecting them closely, especially under magnification, to see if you might have a special variety. Another point of interest is the changing composition of the Canadian penny during this period. Prior to 1997, pennies were made of a copper-plated zinc core. After 1996, the Royal Canadian Mint began to experiment with copper-plated steel. So, the 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin falls within the zinc era, which is important for those who collect by metal type or composition. The historical context is also worth noting. In the early 1990s, Canada was undergoing economic and political changes. The design of the penny remained unchanged, but the public discourse around the cost of producing pennies was already starting. By 2012, the Royal Canadian Mint ceased distribution of the 1-cent coin altogether, and by 2013, it was officially withdrawn from circulation. This makes the 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin a nostalgic relic from a time when the penny was still a part of everyday life. Collectors today often include the 1994 Canada 1-cent coin in date runs, where they collect every penny from a specific range of years. It is also a good entry-level coin for beginners due to its affordability and wide availability. Coin albums and penny folders frequently have a space reserved for this year, making it essential for completing sets. If you have a 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin in your collection, you might be wondering how to evaluate it. The value of the coin depends on several factors: condition, eye appeal, rarity of any errors, and demand. A circulated 1994 Canada penny in average condition is typically worth face value or a few cents to collectors. However, a coin in mint state, especially one graded MS65 or higher, can be worth significantly more. You should also store your 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin properly to maintain its condition. Avoid handling the coin with bare hands, and store it in a 2x2 holder or a coin capsule. Keep it away from moisture, air, and extreme temperatures to prevent oxidation or discoloration. If you plan to collect more Canadian coins, a proper coin storage album is a worthwhile investment. Let's talk about the broader impact of coins like the 1994 Canadian penny. These coins connect us to our national identity and cultural heritage. The maple leaf design is a strong symbol of Canada, recognized around the world. Owning a 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin is like holding a piece of national pride and monetary history. Collectors around the world, especially those focusing on Commonwealth countries or North American coins, often seek out the 1994 Canada 1-cent coin to complete their sets or to study minting characteristics. The Royal Canadian Mint is known for its precision and artistic coinage, and the 1994 penny is a great example of that craftsmanship. Before we wrap up, let's quickly recap why the 1994 Canadian 1-cent coin is still worth talking about today. It's a widely produced yet historically significant piece. It features the classic maple leaf design that is beloved by collectors. It was minted during a transitional period in Canadian coinage history, and while it may not be rare, its collectability increases dramatically in uncirculated condition or with minting errors. So whether you're searching through your change, inheriting a coin collection, or starting your own journey into numismatics, don't overlook the value, historical and collectible, of the 1994 Canada 1-cent coin. It may be small, but its story is vast, and its place in Canadian history is firmly minted in time.